Hi everyone, thank you for joining me, and a special thank you to all of you that have watched all the videos up until this final tour of the $9,000 house. I was thinking about how I would do this video, and I think I'm going to start out just giving sort of a quick walkthrough of the house to give a good feel of it. When I'm doing the renovation and editing those videos, of course, I'm jumping all around. It's fast clips. I very rarely just walk around the house and show it, and not everybody's going to be as familiar with this house as some of the viewers. So let's just go ahead and take a walk through without explanation of the renovation first. So standing here at the front door, you're in the living room, and to the right is the staircase going upstairs. Walking through the living room, you got the dining room here. If you turn, this is the stairs that go down to the basement. In the dining room, here's the view back towards the living room and a view into the kitchen. The kitchen's layout. Pretty much everything's located on that wall with the refrigerator over here. If you look back at this angle of the kitchen, you have a chef's bathroom. Nicely fitted with a toilet, small vanity, light, and a mirror. Off the kitchen is a little sun porch, I guess you'd call it. This was once a little screen porch. It's been closed in. Nice little private area to come sit in. Give you a view from the other way. Make a great little sitting area. Place to come for some privacy. Look at it, nothing in here. Clean as a whistle. Okay, we'll go upstairs next. It's a view of the living room from this angle. Coming up the steps, you come to a landing. Go this way is a bedroom, and this way is a bedroom. So it's a 2-bedroom, and this house is a little under 1,000 square feet total. I don't know if that includes the basement. So the bedrooms, pretty neat with their vaulted ceilings. There's the closet, and then door to the bathroom. So we'll come back to the bathroom. We're gonna walk back around. If you come to the top of the steps and you continue straight, you come into this bedroom, the back bedroom. This too has a, I don't know if you would refer to this as a vaulted ceiling, but it starts there and angles up. Both rooms have recessed lighting and fans. This room has 2 windows. The other room has, is it 3? Yeah, 3. Here's the closet. Shelf, hanger rod, access to the plumbing for the shower. And so this is the same bathroom. So the entrance to the master bathroom, you have to come through the bedrooms. It's just the way it is. Let's see if I can get a good view of the bathroom. It's a pretty big bathroom. You can see how much kind of room there is in here. You know, you've got this like a hamper can go here. Whatever somebody want to do, plenty of space. There's the tub, shower. Nice glass block window. And looking the other direction. Nice and clean. Trying to resist not talking about it yet. So here's the little storage for the bathroom. Basic shelving. All right, I'm gonna head on down to the basement. We're just doing the inside first. It's windy outside, so I don't think I'll be able to kind of walk around and talk like this. I think I'll have to film it and do a voiceover. It's just too windy. So from the basement, it's not as, finished as the upstairs. So I didn't, never mind. Handrail, steps. Don't get into the details yet. This is the first room you come into in the basement. Breaker panel over there. So you can see all the ducting is down here. Second little area. Air handler for the heating and cooling. And then the final room in the basement. And this is where you have hookups for washer and dryer, water heater, and then the back door. So I'm gonna head on back up to the front door and we'll get into the details. So now we're gonna start the long portion of the video. So if you don't like details, this is when you need to stop watching. I'm gonna start here in the living room and I'm gonna try to recall as much as I can, and I'll probably be putting in some before and after shots depending on how I edit this video. So again, we're just gonna do the interior right now, and the exterior will be a separate portion of the video. So if you all remember, this is not what the floors look like, this is not what the walls look like, and this is not what the kind of openings look like. This house was pretty much completely gutted and completely renovated. It was renovated almost as much as you can renovate a house on the interior. There are some things I did on the exterior where I kept the siding, for example. You know, the view. So this entire room was gutted out. All of those previous, if y'all recall, there were the wood sheathing boards on the walls. All that got pulled off, and when this wasn't here, all that was being thrown down through that hole in a video I remember. All new wiring, even the floor joists for upstairs. So the existing floor joist, when the ceiling was ripped out, I sistered on, which means to put a new board beside the existing joist. So I sistered on 2x10s onto the existing 2x10s or 2x8s, whatever they were, in here to make the second floor stiffer, balanced. It's kind of they're running this way, and the span is a little far. So now they're doubled up and the floor is stiff as a board. What else to say about all this? It's all been totally insulated. So in this project, I paid someone to do the insulation. I paid someone to do the drywall. The other thing I paid for was the roof, to nail down the shingles. I bought all the supplies and had it in black paper. They did the nail down of the shingles. And then I paid to have the new heat pump installed. The other big thing that happened in here, as you know, is the work on the staircase. Originally, it was very, very rough. This wall didn't even really exist. It was sort of just paneling nailed to the side of the stringer. And I think there was like a 2x4 on the floor, and the paneling was just nailed. So the only attachment of the stringer was very lightly attached up here. So the staircase itself is much sturdier in its current form. A new wall was framed, and then all the work done on the handrail. And of course, this little step coming up to the landing. Probably look at that more in a minute. A lot of work was done on the floor, of course. All the floors were sanded. There's a specific video that I did that. But that piece of flooring right there, for example, all this on the end of all the runs of flooring, that little piece was filled in. You can see where this was filled in, because originally this would have been where a chimney was going up, and you all know about the base of the chimney. Now what this area is, this boxed in section, is where the ductwork runs up for the second floor. Right here, if y'all recall, this was a regular doorway. So I opened this up so you can see where that's sort of a framed in header or beam across that opening right there. And what that does is that's supporting floor joists. What else is there to say? I think I said it already, but that would be filling in for that. The dining room, same thing. The ceiling had a lot of work doing the floor joist. This was opened up. And again, that's not again, I don't know if I mentioned yet, all the windows were removed, the existing windows. I think almost every single rough opening, the framing is what that means, I had to reframe all of the openings for all these windows because it was so rotted out beneath the windows. So you can see, for example, like right here is a little staining in the floor, and that's just where there was just damage. And of course, a lot of the stuff that I'm saying in one room is going to apply to all the rooms in the house. It was, there's no pre-existing electric. There was a few modern wires that I used, and I reused basically some of the circuits, but I'd say the house was 90% rewired. So a lot of wiring in this house. I don't know how many rolls of wiring I used, but it's probably only two or so, I'm not sure. There's the return for the heating, cooling. One thing that I wish I would have done in this project was added a return upstairs too, to where it would draw air from up there and here, as well. I think if I would have put it, what I should have done, but I didn't because there was room to do it, I should have framed this in, and one of these would be, I guess, what do you call it, the trunk running up, and then have a return coming back down. And I could have put a wall return in it and not had a floor return like that. So these floors down here were painted. Sorry, it's even though that wasn't that long ago, I'm having trouble remembering all this stuff. So these floors were painted kind of an off-white color. All that was rented the Home Depot sander and sanded and refinished it down to what you see now. And then after that came in with all this basic baseboard. This floor in these two rooms are level, but then you step down into the kitchen. There's probably a 2-inch step down. So this piece right here acts as a transition. And I think I showed that in the previous video. Here's the, kind of filling in around all the rooms. So the reason I had to do this filling in, if y'all recall, is that you have the studs in the wall. Then there was, I guess, 3/4 or 1 inch thick boards that ran around the house. Then there was something along the lines of drywall on top of that, then a baseboard. So all that added up came out to where that floor was in. So they had, I guess, done all that, and then they came in and put the floor up to the wall, then the baseboard overlapped it. So it left a big gap around the room that I had to go around the whole house and fill in. The kitchen, there's a lot of work in here too. The floor joists were replaced up here. The floor joists in here were crazy. Like one floor joist, I think it was about where these lights are at, light bulb. The floor joist came across this way, and then one came across this way, and they just overlapped and nailed together. So now they're all new, fresh floor joists in there. The floor in here had a little reinforcement underneath here, but it's the same except for I pulled something up, I don't even remember, and then I came back down with some Luan as or some sort of underlayment, and then with this vinyl floor here. And this is one piece of vinyl floor that even goes into that doorway. That was a tricky piece of vinyl floor to put in. I was a big wrestling match to get that in. I personally like vinyl floors. Yes, they can get damaged, but this floor is a little wonky in the kitchen. It's just got some wave to it. So this, lies flat like a cheap rug. What's the phrase? Something like that. It just kind of it just goes. This would not be the best floor for some LVP without coming in and really leveling it out first, whereas this just will take the form of whatever it's laid on top of. So, but the kitchen cabinets, so all the plumbing in here, there's a bathroom here, and then there's a bathroom above us. So the upstairs bathroom is up there. The toilet is located somewhere around in here, and the bathtub's about here, and the sink is over here. So all that plumbing is, coming under the tub over here, and then through a space in the joist run this way. The toilet goes down and gets into the wall, and all of it's running down right there. But luckily with the joist running this way, it was easy. And that, of course, determines in some part the layout of the bathroom. So all the plumbing is coming down in that back of that wall, which is nice because all this can connect into that easily. And the bathroom right here, all that goes down through the floor and connects over into that same waistline. This one was a little tricky because it goes into the wall, down, comes out of the wall, underneath the cabinet, and down through the floor. It was really tricky to do it. And that sounds silly because I could just have to go straight through the bottom of the vanity and the floor, but I originally had it plumbed to where I could use a pedestal sink. So I wanted to go into the wall to and then came down, and it's just, a little tricky. But, well, I guess I'll go ahead and address this bathroom. Originally, this was here, but I think it was originally probably a pantry, and it was very narrow. There was a 24-inch door right here. Of course, this is all new, but imagine it being the old version of itself. There was a 24-inch door right here, and I would say that the bathroom was probably from here that way, and probably from here this way, with that 24-inch door barely fit in there. It was just a little pantry, but it was not a pantry. It was a toilet only right there. Imagine that line on the floor, and then it came to like here, and imagine just a toilet in here. So you open a door, and a toilet's like coming all the way out to there. It was pretty funny. And that would just leave this as the sink to wash your hands. So I kept it like that because the only bathroom in the house is the one you have to access through the bedrooms. So I wanted there to be a bathroom that you could access from downstairs for a guest. Now, is it optimal to come and do crazy business in the kitchen, maybe like right while somebody's cooking dinner? Absolutely not, but it might just be time to go home if you're gonna embarrass yourself. Let me turn the light on in here. But this is better than nothing, and this just doesn't bother me. And I haven't had anyone that I've personally shown this house to say anything negative about the bathroom. You get the, comments on YouTube. It's just so easy. But most of the people who see this go, oh, that's nice. And the people who say that with the most enthusiasm are the mothers, because mothers spend a lot of time in the kitchen, and it's nice to have a convenient bathroom for themselves as well as kids. So you could be in this bathroom and your kids could be off on this little porch here, playing, doing things. You're getting dinner together and you take them into the bathroom. It's not something around somewhere else. It's all just this one little spot. I see a lot of quality time being spent in here. And again, you tinkle in here. I know I've said this before, you tinkle in here. You don't come in here and just start, don't make me say it. But, so yeah, this is a very basic and simple kitchen, but I like it. And the reason I like it, from my landlording perspective, it's basic. It's a vinyl floor. I can easily replace it. These are standard cabinets. They're not going anywhere in Lowe's. They're going to stay the same. Something happens, I can replace one. The appliances, of course, they're basic appliances. We've talked about that before. It's a small kitchen, but not cramped. Even with this in here, that was the big decision, was this going to take up too much room? And then the reason it's not accessed from the living room is because the floors are uneven, and I didn't want to have it be uneven down into the bathroom in that situation. And it had to do with not wanting to cut a doorway into that structural wall. I don't know. This was just, in the end, all things considered, this was what I thought was the best scenario. Go upstairs or go somewhere else if you have to do something that you don't want to do in there. Yeah. So I'm very pleased with the kitchen in the end. I like it. Some people don't like the way it looks. I had a lot of comments on this floor, and the contrast gets kicked up on the camera. It's not as contrasted looking, the marbling, as when I'm looking at it through the camera versus in person. Your basic countertops, all this, I say basic, all this is so expensive. It's so expensive, and the prices really went up on this stuff since I started working on this house being such a long span. And I said it in a different video, just like when you think about the pace of working on something, just any one of these cabinets, like how much, let me see, how much like a cabinet like one of these costs versus this one, because this one has the drawers. It's it goes up. This is a 36-inch base cabinet. If you go bigger than that, then you get the bigger sink. There's all kinds of decisions that get expensive. And so I tried my best to make inexpensive for what you're doing. You're still working on a house. It's kind of like planning an inexpensive wedding. It's still going to be expensive. And inexpensive, there's still a lot of money being spent here and a lot of time leveling these cabinets up. That was one of the trickiest things, but was one of my favorite tricks that I did, where I would temporarily shim the cabinets to a line that was flat across or level across the wall. I would shim them up to that line, and then I added sort of new plywood feet to the sides, and then it drops to the floor level, and then I screwed it to the cabinets. And so each one is sitting completely firmly, not on shims, and then, but perfectly in plane with each other to where this cabinet, where the countertop went on there nice and even. So, and then there's that toe space down there that's covered up, and all I have to do is pop that off if I ever have to get under there for some reason, which you don't. I did a video, of course, on everything with this video talking about the appliances if you want to know anything about those. Okay. This is my door that I've kind of romanced in this project. I'd say I romanced this door a little too much, and I romanced the staircase too much. This door came out of the one of the next houses, the farmhouse next door that I'll be doing a renovation of. But it was really rough, and it was sanded down, and a lot of stuff filling in previous holes there. replacing glass. I think I even used Bondo on this door. And then the hinges came off of a different door. I think some doors I got on the side of the road at some point. It was a house that burned down, and then they sat all the doors outside, and all the doors just had smoke damage, but they all had really nice hinges and hardware, and they were throwing them all away. I have all of them, the doors and hinges and hardware and everything. I was just driving by one day and saw them. But the hinges are old Stanley Sweetheart hinges. They're kind of neat. And so those were sandblasted and painted, just spray paint. And you can see, I'm not being too careful. There was an existing mortise right here for a hinge. You can see where the hinge would have come off this side of the door, since it looks like that there. But I just, went ahead and used that spot and then marked it out on the door jambs. Door jambs just kind of built in place. And I've probably already talked about all this, but just a simple handle pulls from Lowe's. And then what that does is you have the metal plate there, and then just a cabinet magnet right there. And it's just simple. That means this door doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, it's in there nice and square, but it's just not relying on anything other than those two things have to make contact. And it's just for holding the door shut for privacy on the porch. Could easily be changed and put a doorknob in at some point. This room here is probably would be my personal favorite room of the house, assuming that both the rooms upstairs were used as bedrooms. I think that front bedroom is really cool with the ceilings. That would be sort of like if you had some home office space, like if you're a single guy or just a married couple living here, I think it'd be a really cool house, size-wise, and just the layout, everything about it. This porch, again, was enclosed. If you remember, it had a foundation made of block. I removed that and put it on wood 6x6s because the old foundation was slouched. I think it was probably down 4 inches or more in that corner. So I had to jack all this up, level it up. The entire roof on this section was removed, and I came back in with new rafters, which are 2x6s kind of cut down. So they're lightweight, but there's just nothing to this portion of the roof. And it originally had a ceiling, but I removed that because it was low, and it's just kind of opened it up, makes it nicer in here. This opening here, all this was reframed, but this basic size opening was screened in before, so it's nice to have it closed in. You can open all these windows, and they have screens in them, so you can get the same breeze that you would have got before, but this is now a year-round little sun porch. And it's a pleasant room to be in. You can see right now, time of the day, the sun's kind of off in that direction. So it's just a little sun hitting. The sun comes up over there and kind of goes like this. So you get a little, you get probably some sun coming in that door in the middle, in the morning, and then coming in here in the evening. But throughout the day, it's not like the sun's just glaring in here, burning this room up, which is great because it doesn't get too hot, and it just always has pleasant lighting like you see right now. And it's sunny outside today. It's not like an overcast day. It's just a good representation of it. Doors out onto this little side porch. There were concrete steps right there, and then that rebuilt that porch over top of those. Got you, whatever you call this type of door. I don't know if you call it a French door when it's just one. And there's a storm door on the outside as well to protect this door. It seems redundant, but this is a steel door, so I didn't want this one to rust. So I put a storm door on it. Which, if you open this door, it is more open feeling, so that's nice. Somebody can open that up. And I actually think that when I bought this door, I think it may have come with a screen insert as well, too. So you could take the glass out and have a screen. That obviously is not going to be an option. Not going to let tenants fool with something that serious. But the other option would just to have a storm door that has a sliding window that can open up to screens, but I don't think that was an option when I was looking at stuff. Okay, we're at 20 minutes so far into this portion of the video. I think we're doing good, though. I feel good about the explanations so far. I think I mentioned it, this doorway was opened up wider. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Let's head on upstairs. So here's the controls for the heat pump. So it has a heat pump I had installed. I think I paid about $5,500 for it. That would have, no, the drywall, having the drywall work done, I think it was $7,200, and then the heat pump was $5,200. If I would have had new ducting put in, I think it would have been $7,000 some dollars to do the heat pump. But I used the existing duct, which was fine. It's insulated and everything. So here's the staircase. A lot of work went into that. Of course, it's all new handrails and rebuilt the underneath the steps and flipped the treads, ran them through planer, extended them to have all the spindles or whatever you call those, baluster spindles. I don't know what you call them in this situation. The newel post. This step was built up. So that is a new tread that I made up out of, I think, some just old lumber that came out of either this house or the house next door. Kind of closed in a little gap between the floor and the toe board or whatever it's called, the riser on that step with some quarter round. Did that in a few spots. All this trim going up the steps is kind of accommodating for just the weirdness of how the stringer is. So a lot of that type of stuff where the wall's a little, let me go wide, the wall's a little wonky as you go up the steps. So, you know, there's a lot of kind of accommodating, and then in the very end, relying on some caulk. And I know that's offensive to some people, but that's just the way it is. You can't, you know, you can't dwell on every single thing. You have to have sort of a good enough mentality when you're working on, I think, anything, much less something like this. This is not a house that you're renovating to sell and you're trying to just absolutely maximize everything. This is a solid rental, and I think it has, actually, I think this house is nicer than the category of rental that it is, which I think means, hopefully, that I will get somebody, assuming it's a person who is in a position to kind of rent for a while, that they would stay here for a good amount of time because they enjoy being here. So handrail, so this again, I've talked about it. This is off of a 2x12. This is out of an old joist material or a rafter material from a different house. All this came off my personal sawmill. This is poplar, so I milled all this out of a tree I cut down. And then this is just a untreated fir 4x4 from Lowe's. So just built up out of stuff. You know, this was scraps. I say came off my sawmill. I didn't go saw a tree down to it, but this came out of scrap. It was actually, I think, floor joists for my sawmill building that I ripped these out of. It was like shorter scrap pieces from when I cut them to length. All this, you know, all these risers got a lot of work sanding them and filling them. They're not perfect, but they're much better than they were. Ended up going with carpet throughout the upstairs. This little section, again, that kind of keeps money from actually backing off, you know, since the kind of cuts into the landing. And it's one of the spots where the floor is uneven. I don't know why somebody, when they, you know, this would be the original part of the house and this was an addition. I don't know, it just seems like, you know, somebody might joke and say have a measuring tape, but you don't need a measuring tape to just make it the same height as the floor. I don't know why somebody complicated things doing that. So this wall, this would have been the original exterior of the house, this wall running right here. And then everything off the back of the house, so it'd be the dining room, this bedroom, the kitchen, and this bathroom were built on at some point. So originally it would have just been the living room and this room, you know. Living downstairs, kitchen was, actually I think the kitchen was a small thing coming off the back of this house from talking to people. But it could have originally all just been in that downstairs, and then the upstairs loft is where the sleeping happens, which is where my grandmother lived in grew up in a cabin, and that's the way it was. It was 22 by 22. Downstairs was, you know, for business, and the upstairs was for sleeping. So the bedrooms, this room really didn't change a whole lot, but there is one thing that I wished I would have done. I mentioned adding a return. I think I mentioned that. I wish I would have added a return and had this piece here be this boxed in spot be the return, and have one in the hallway, you know, with a filter and everything, and then have the actual trunk run or the ductwork come up on the outside, have this framed in bigger. And then someone recently said, instead of having this tiny closet, I could have used this space as a closet. So I could have kind of cleverly done all that together right there. I think that would have been nice and clean. But this room didn't get a lot other than, you know, you've got the rafters come up like this, and then you've got the rafter ties, I believe is what they call it. Imagine a 2x4 just running across right there. The existing ones, this was framed like this, but the existing ones were kind of wonky as you went across. So I had to remove those and then come in and straighten that out to where it would drywall nicely. I know I said it already, but recessed lights and fans in both of the bedrooms. I think the ducting, I think that is where the registers were. And I went back to the same, just with new actual registers, and maybe the flex duct, but I cannot remember. This room didn't receive anything with the floors. Everything else that I've done in all the other rooms just applies in here. One thing I haven't mentioned, and I don't know what I said about these throughout the video or the renovation, but there are the wired smoke detectors. And so all of those are now hooked up. So if one goes off, they all go off is how that works. Cutting this hole through this, so this will be a big part of kind of an explanation. So when you came up to this bathroom, if y'all remember that this door was not here and the wall to the bathroom was about where this wall is here. So I shifted the existing wall, tore that down, and then reframed it here. The original entrance to the bathroom, so standing in the back bedroom here, the original door to the bathroom, as I'm remembering this, and I'm gonna be putting up old footage kind of comparing it. I believe the bathroom door was here. Of course, we're in the original wall that's set about 4 feet that way. The original bathroom door was here. There was a closet door here, and this was just wall. And then the height of the ceiling in here was this height here. So you can see that is just a pre-hung door, normal pre-hung door, and the wall starts there. So that wall was so low in this back bedroom because it's a low-pitched roof. So I took that ceiling out, and that gives this room much more space. It allows for the fan, and that's at a normal height. It's hung at about 8 feet. Just makes the room more interesting too. And it didn't make the room small. So here I am backed into the corner. This room's about 12 by 12, I'm guessing, just by looking at it. I can't remember, and there's nothing here for me to easily figure that out, but it's about 12 by 12. So originally it would have been about 12 by 15 or 16. So bigger than it needed to be. And so the original closet was here, but it ran all the way. And the reason I know the dimension of the bathroom was because a tub is 60 inches, and the old tub was in this corner and came this way. And so the wall was wherever the end of 60 inches was, plus the thickness of the wall. I think the toilet was about there, and the sink was about here, and tub was here, and then there was a wall there with the closet on the other side, and there was no storage built into this. The floor was extremely rotten in here from issues from the bathroom, and then the roof was leaking the worst in here. So this was pretty rotten. All this was. The wall was rotten, the floors were rotten, so that required a lot of work. But the reason that I did the pushing the wall over is because now we have entrances from both bedrooms. Before, if anyone wanted to come into this bedroom, and when I bought this house, there were, I think, 4 or 5 20-some-year-old guys living here. They would all have to come through this bedroom to get to this bathroom. So I'm sure that little kitchen bathroom was being hit really hard by everybody, just, avoiding doing that. So I pushed the wall just far enough to get a 32-inch, I think it's a 32-inch door right there. It's 32 or 34, I think it's 32. So this is the exterior of the house. This is an exterior corner of the house, where there's a roof over that side porch. And this was the original, like I mentioned, this was the original wall in the house. And it's cool because when I opened this up, there was the cedar shake siding was behind that. And then when you looked up into this space, which is the pitch of the main roof comes out at you like this, and that's why this is kind of boxed in. It's very minimal clearance and everything I did getting this door in here. There's slate shingles on the portion that is sort of up in the little attic space that this addition with this low-pitched roof coming off of created. They just left those slate shingles up in there. So that was kind of neat to see that. Little unevenness right there where this, the same little unevenness is right there. But I think it's an extremely functional bathroom. I think it's big, so it's not cramped. It gives somebody the option of kind of having a hamper or some sort of storage. This is enough space, I think, to put a good amount of things under there. Again, nothing's cramped. I didn't go putting a bunch of, towel bars all over the walls because people will just tear that stuff right off. The bad thing is if you don't put it on there, somebody comes in with all that 3M stuff, it sticks on walls, and I dislike that stuff. But hopefully somebody will, they're not supposed to do that, but people still do that. This has the built-in shelves into that, so that, kind of takes care of some of it. You've got that bar going across. Hopefully somebody won't do that type of thing. But plenty of room. Sorry, I'm getting a little scatterbrain feeling. Let me regroup. The vanity, I can't remember how much this is. This is the type of stuff where you really burn up some money on I'll say lower end economical stuff, but still it's expensive to buy this type of thing. What I wanted to do was to put a double vanity there, but that jumped the price way up. But I went ahead and I've got it. The plumbing is in the correct spot, and then the electrical's in the right spot to where if I ever go out with a 60-inch vanity, a double vanity, it's fine. But for now, I've got this one in place. It's a, inexpensive, still brand new. It's clean, but it's still sized enough to where people can store stuff under there. And again, you get yourself one of those little clear drawer units or something to put there. Basic toilet, elongated, one of the Lowe's ones. I think it's under sub 100. I think this space really, this is nice. Again, I'm talking about storage. It's a whole closet in here. I'm thinking about different houses that I have and seen and everything, and I'm almost like defending this house in some sort of strange way. I keep going back to, I think it's just shocking to me. I never got used to the transition that this house has taken. It was such a rough place, and it's just cleaned up so nicely, in my opinion. And it's like I've said before, it's not my personal dream house or anything, but it just really has shaped up into a nice, clean, respectable house that, in my opinion, no one should have taken. Like, if you had to live here, if you're just normal renter and you ended up renting this house, I think you've gotten a nice thing, just especially the first person moving in when it's at its cleanest. So a lot of work was done to get this bathtub in. The floors in here were almost, I think, completely replaced with new subflooring, supported by the new joists. The wall was all out of square. If y'all remember, I went up with the Hardy backer first, and then I took it down, and then I had to kind of fix all the framing, the wall. The tub came back out. I had to level the tub and bed it in concrete or mortar, and then came in with these walls. And I just skipped all the tiling, and I'm so glad I did it. Because, like, say, the glass block window that I did, that was something that I wanted to do. I chose to do it. That was expensive. It was like $600 or $700 back when I did that, and it took a long time. So if you remember with the window, I could come in with do the rough opening, and then I lined it with Hardy backer, and then it's got all the different anchors, stainless steel anchors that are going between. They anchor to the framing, and then the pieces that go between, it looks like remesh, little strips that go between all of it. There's spacers between the blocks that you can't see. Then you come in and you mortar it. And then that is also aluminum wrapped on the outside like the rest of the windows. And like I've commented before, I think it's the perfect placement to where, you leave the door unlocked, you bait your roommates into coming into the bathroom when you're sitting here, and at the right time of the day when all that light is shining in, you'll just be glowing like an angel right there. I know I'm repeating myself, but it is such a funny idea to me. And, but yeah, people comment on the window. I'm just joking about what I'm saying about glowing like an angel. But I guess you would be glowing, I don't know, in an angel, but there would be a glow. This is so obscured, when you're outside. I need to do a nighttime shot. I need to get somebody to sit on the toilet while I go outside and aim up at it. But it's worse things in life have happened than some neighbor seeing that you're in the bathroom. Fan that's ducted this way and goes out over top that roof there. Register for the bathroom. Inexpensive light, basic light. So I enjoy making decisions like this in a house. You're standing in Lowe's and you're looking at all the lights, and they're all just Chinese lights, and they're all $50, $60, $75, $100, $150. And then you look over at this one and you go, well, that one's like $15, and you just buy it. Don't get hung up on everything. Don't let people pressure you into thinking you're not creating. It's as the landlord, it is your house. You get to make the decisions. And again, it's a brand new light with 4 LED lights in a house that's air conditioned. You know, people's standards are ridiculous. But, and I'm not talking about the tenants. I'm talking about the keyboard warrior, you know, and you know who you are. You're watching. The mirror came from Walmart. So Walmart's good for stuff like that. I would never buy things like this at Lowe's. It's like sold at a premium price. So you just buy things like this at Lowe's. A lot of times people will also ask me, go to the mirror for this one, flip around. People will also ask me, why don't you buy used stuff? And the answer for me is it's just too big of a pain, and it takes too much time to go fool with that. There's certain situations, like say you're buying a bunch of materials, like you're buying a whole stack of 2x4s and you just find them used, that's fine. If you find stuff when you're not looking for it, it's fine. But when you need, say, a light like this, going on Facebook Marketplace and trying to communicate with somebody and going and getting it for $5 versus the 20 or whatever it costs, that's just not worth it. So I'm not interested in doing that. You could buy, my first house that I renovated, I built the vanity versus just going and buying one. I didn't have any money at all to do it, so I was just kind of stuck to, I basically built the vanity and the kitchen counter cabinets out of just scrap wood, scrap 2x4s, planed it and nail gunned everything together. It's all still there, but it's a second house. If I said it was my second house, I did all that. The first house, I bought a lot of stuff from Habitat Restore, but you obviously will end up spending a lot more buying everything. But imagine how slow it's already been for me to do this. You know, it really gets into a grueling pace. And then it kind of looks like you've done that in a lot of cases. And really the cat's out the bag on places like Habitat Restore and buying things used. Everybody, Habitat Restore, you go in there and you'll see Mercedes parked in the parking lot. And you go in and it's some middle-aged to older woman walking in there buying things she thinks is cute, you know, designing and decorating. It's not just it's not sort of like what Goodwill used to be for people who need to go there because that's what they can afford. People just go to them for fun now, and they've just started charging a lot for a lot of stuff. So I don't even think it's a lot of benefit. I go to places like that sometimes and you'll see stuff priced higher than it is new in the store. So I would rather just go to the convenience of Lowe's. All my receipts are the same. I have a Lowe's credit card. You know, you buy the stuff, you get 5% off, and then you pay it off. So it's just all my records are on that. So it's just extra easy. So I think that's it for upstairs. One last thing on that window. The other thing I could have done, I probably should have done it, was just buy a matching window just like these. And I could have got privacy glass, which is just frosted. But at the same time, now that it's done, I would prefer this. It was just a lot of work when I did it. It's dangerous too. It's like on the outside, and I had my dad on the inside. So that's my dad that you've seen in a few of the videos here and there, you know, on occasion, whether it's this house or some other house. When I'm doing something that I have to have somebody, he's usually the one that I get to give me a hand. So I think that's it for upstairs. The stairwell, there's nothing much to say other than the pendant lights on a 3-way switch up here and down at the bottom. View of the steps is nice. I'm not really worried about the length of this video, if you can tell. Other than the camera filling up, that's annoying. We'll go down in the basement, I guess. It's kind of a boring thing to finish on, but we're also going to be going outside. So, basement. Its handrail's made out of a 2x4, ripped down, rounded over. Had to shim out with this to kind of clear the first joist in this room. It's like a doubled up joist there. Went on with those 2x4s to fill that in. And all this is already had my inspection, passed the inspections. Everything is fine. Not a lot to say down here. I kind of wish, looking back on it, I would have gone ahead and sistered on some extra lumber onto that. The living room's got a little bit of a bounce in it. I'm not scared of it or anything, but it would have just stiffened that up a little. Now it would be inconvenient. I'd have to disconnect some of the electric. It wouldn't be a huge deal. I'd just have to, say, disconnect this, pull those wires out, sister this on, and then drill the holes and run the wires back through it. But I mean, you're working around, just obviously would have been the easiest time to do it was when I was doing the bulk of the work down here. The breaker panel, it had 200 amp service as a disconnect on the outside. That was there already, but I, of course, came in reused some circuits, added some others, and then ran wires back here. And then, like I said, there's a few of the existing wires that went upstairs were there. Nothing much to say. You know, the basement was super duper nasty. I don't know if y'all remember that. So much of this I can barely remember. It was like a wood floor built over top this existing concrete here. And then over here was dirt. And that was the floor that, I don't know if y'all remember, but when I flipped over the piece after I tore the floor up, it was crawling with literally thousands of termites. And I poured this floor with bagged concrete in 3 sections, then also the ramp. So 4 pieces. Started there, backed my way out, and then formed in the ramp and put that in. So that was like my biggest bagged concrete pour to that to date. And it's been nice. You know, it's not a crack in it. It's nice. I was shocked. I wasn't expecting it to remain this nice. I thought I'd do it and it'd get some stress cracks here and there, but it wouldn't really matter. It's just basic basement. There's no vapor barrier under any of this anyway. But with the gutters on the house now, the basement has been much drier. If it dumps, you know, you get a little moisture down here. And the property manager I deal with, they say every single house that they have, it's written into the lease multiple times. They have to initial that any house with basements, that the basements aren't guaranteed to be really dry. And that's a liability thing on their side. And to make sure the tenants know to where they don't end up putting anything that you wouldn't want to get a little damp. But it's not like a creek running through here. It's just, it gets a little wet, I think, over there. And then I think a little wet coming from over here. And, you know, it's just the way the ground is here and the slopes. And it's kind of unavoidable, the foundation. Don't have a lot to say about the heat pump. It's in the same location it was before, tied into the existing duct. Goes out at the same place. You see, if y'all remember, I pressure washed and everything. The paint just doesn't hold on these walls for some reason. So I pressure washed the whole basement again and just washed it all out the basement door. Need to sweep that dust out. Down here, I don't think anything's changed. I don't think there were not any washer dryer hookups. I was originally going to put them on the porch upstairs, is what I was thinking, but then I just did it down here to not take up any more space. That's how I got the washer and drain. There was one of those cast iron enameled sinks right here, and it was plumbed into this. So I removed that off the wall. It was really messed up, and then came up with this for the drain for the the washing machine, power for both, supply lines, and then there's the ducting for the dryer. So I didn't show that. That's one of those expensive real dryer hoses. Goes up into rigid dryer duct and goes out with one of those little flappy vent things on the outside. Water heater. I supply a punching bag to every household, cuts down on domestic issues, and that's about it. So I need to get my pressure washer out of here and a few little things, but that's pretty much it. I think the wind has calmed down outside, so I'm going to go out there and see if we can do the exterior tour. The wind has calmed down, but it kind of keeps sneaking up on me, so I'm not sure how good the audio is, but you'll just have to work with me. It's oftentimes breezy outside, but you know, I look at the house and I go ahead and change that much on the outside, but it has. You know, if y'all remember, it had the bushes around the side, and I ripped all those out with the truck, and they wrapped around somehow. Little concrete steps, all the handrails and everything, that's different. The ceiling is vaulted in the porch. Repainted the house. The difference with the windows, the roof, the gutters, you know, it's a lot has happened. I'm sure I'm not even thinking of everything. A lot of little holes patched in where there were issues in the siding. Painted the foundation. The porch got closed in. Of course, it just looks different. But yeah, so I'm not gonna, I think, go hard on what I did on the outside. You'll just see it in the before and after. But there's this little steps. You know, a lot of people ask, why aren't you gonna paint that? I'm just not right now. I might one day. Then there's all this. Handrailery, boxed in columns, made the handrails. Rebuilt these steps, so it had concrete steps, and I jackhammered them. That jackhammer ended up getting stolen. I only ever had a few things stolen from me: a bicycle and a jackhammer, a couple of bicycles actually, and a jackhammer. It was a major bummer. It was like $600 some. Here's the porch. A lot of people ask about these cracks. They're not like tripping cracks. It's just that they're mailbox. Okay, let me go around. So that's the little sun porch right there. I think his house looks great. I'm having a good moment right now of kind of realizing it. I'll go ahead and let y'all in on a secret. I'll probably repeat it in the end of the video, but the house rented today. So the person is moving in 2 days, so it's forced me to have to come and do this. I've just been so busy. I've been wanting to do this video already. But so yeah, the house is already rented. The whole application was approved today, that person. So again, this is all through a property manager. I don't handle it myself. I have no idea who it is. Don't know anything about them, how many people or anything. So one of the biggest things on this house was cleaning the siding and painting it. I got it down to almost bare aluminum, and it was very high working on it. And during the process of windows, this is the window. I don't know if I mentioned that. This is the window I almost fell off on the ladder. I had the ladder there, and the ladder was coming out here, and it slid out, and so I almost fell from there to there. Doesn't look high, but it was scary. And I fortunately grabbed that windowsill, and it was hanging there, and then got over on that other roof, and then I had a hammer on this roof, and I was able to lay down on my stomach and dangle over the roof and hook the ladder and pulled the ladder up and then reset it and got down. I think I left for the day. Also, people asked about this, and I know I said it already, but this is just going to get a padlock on it, and it's not going to be part of the rental for now. I've got stuff stored in it I don't want to fool with. So this first tenant will not have access to that, and they know that ahead of time, so you know, they don't care. It's not something I'm going to be coming and going. I've just got old windows and doors and some other random materials stored in there that I just don't have anywhere to go with right now. This would have been probably the base of a chimney in the past, and I haven't torn it down yet. That'll be a sledgehammer challenge for another time. The door, whole video on that. So any one thing that I'm talking about, there's videos on it if y'all want to go back and reference them. Get around the other side. So areas like this, you know, it's rough. I know people commented on it. I might, while I'm here today, kind of tighten things up, pick up a few things. There's the heat pump. Again, it's 55, I think, 5,500. This is the outdoor unit. That window, I believe I commented on this already, but instead of filling in this, replacing the window with a new window or filling it in and eliminating it, I went ahead and just framed in some studs, put a piece of plywood, and then covered it with some aluminum. So it preserves the rough opening, but it kept me from having to spend the money on an additional window. And it's not a bedroom. There's plenty of lights downstairs, and a lot of light comes in from that room with the door in it. So this was a way for me to keep that opening. I could install a window, or if someone in the future owns the house, they could install a window. Commenting on the gutters, somebody said something about how far out I had it coming, not understanding. Well, there's up under this dirt out to here is, for some reason, there's concrete. So I had to get out past that. And I can just replace this section of gutter when it inevitably gets beat up, you know. Again, a lot of times people comment on all this stuff. It's small details. You know, renovate a whole house and see how big of a deal you think it is to replace a little section of gutter. So all this stuff that you get comments on, I'm not concerned over it. The biggest thing is to get the house rented, and then you can, you know, think about what this house would rent for in your area, times that by 12, that's what it's making a year. So if you have to come back in and do a little small thing, it's no big deal. Now, I don't get hung up on the time frame of not renting a house, of like every month that goes by is that much you're not making. It's just not realistic for me to move much faster than I move at any given time. But as far as like coming back and doing stuff once you're making money off of it, you know, I'm not worried about something like that. So I'll choose to do something like that versus, I don't know, whatever else you do. Bust up the concrete, saw in it. I guess you could run up there with a different material, PVC, you know, piece of PVC pipe. Same thing right here. Here's my little filling in the grass. That stayed alive. Look at it from this angle. So some of the things I didn't get around to doing that I wanted to do is clean the siding off. I haven't done that yet. but I can come back in when someone's living here. All that will be is a mix and a sprayer, and spray it up on the siding, and it'll kind of clean itself off and then spray it off. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the outside. Well, I greatly appreciate you all sticking with me throughout this video and the whole series. This pretty much going to wrap things up for the video and for this house. This will be our last time coming together, talking like this in the house before it's occupied. Next time I'm in here talking, showing it to you in person, will be some sort of an update between tenants. Always the scary visit that first time when you come back, or any time after you enter a house, after tenants are in it. Of course, I rent the house out using a property manager. They charge 10% of whatever the rent is, regardless of what the rent is. And some people will think that's a lot, but the way I've always explained it myself is, say you had $100,000 in gross rents coming in, it would be like having an employee that took care of all that side for you for $10,000 a year. So when you rent a house, say for $1,000, and they're taking them $100,000, it feels bigger in that moment. But when you think of it as far as managing all of the places, it's just a nice thing. And I'll say this, outside of the hard costs of paying for strictly what they do, finding tenants, evictions, just the managing side, the landlording, everything but owning it, basically. There's a mental component too that's valued in it for me, to not have to think about it. This house again is rented already, and I don't even know who the people are. I don't have to rent it out and go, oh man, I hope they do this or that. I don't think about it. Whatever happens is going to happen. I don't have to think about it all along, which for me is great. I'm going to do a couple more videos of the renovation, sort of a 10-minute video showing everything. That'll be coming up soon-ish. Then I'll do probably a long video, maybe an hour or more, showing the renovation. Same thing, but expanded. And I'll probably end up doing maybe some really short versions, or some of the actual YouTube shorts to try to draw somebody to the videos at the end of the series, which then kind of reactivates the whole series, and people start going back and watching the whole thing, sometimes for the second time, and then new people come in. It really happened on the $12,000 house. I think that video has between 10 and 12 million views on it now. So that really was a boon financially, that one single video, along with all the other ones that it drove up, to be able to do a lot of what I've done on this house. Now, of course, things tapered off for me when I kind of calmed down on YouTube a little bit. But yeah, and one of the questions I got recently was this house worth it? Having taken so long and being such a major renovation. I have another channel called Common Sense, where I talk about money and the mindset behind doing a lot of stuff I'm doing, the lifestyle, whatever you want to call it. Just what do you got to do all this type of stuff, and thoughts, reflecting on my own experience. And so on that channel, Common Sense, I just posted a video addressing that specific question someone asked. It's an hour and a half long, talking about everything I could imagine around the subject of whether this house was worth it. And then I stray, of course, in that video. But yeah, I think that's about it. Check the link in the description, links in the description below. I have one for Patreon, which is a monthly financial contribution that some people have signed up for. Thank you all. Especially thank you all that have signed up for that have contributed to these videos. And then I'll also do a one-time donation PayPal type link below as well. And then oftentimes I'll post links down there, say to the playlist to this video, something like that. So check the description, see if there's anything down there that interests you. Other than that, I think that is about it. Thank you all once again for watching all these videos. This has been a big project, and like I said, I'm glad I did it. You can get the full explanation in that other video I commented on. But that's it. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.